Welcome to Food Talk, where we talk about fishing, farming, food, and all things East End. Today my guests are Carolyn Stec, the executive chef at the Millhouse Inn, which we're already upset about because the Millhouse Inn is not open to the public. We can't actually access her food, but there's a way around that. And Paul Johnson, whose reputation precedes himself. He is the chief marketer at CME, the Children's Museum of the East End. He is a trivia expert, but it's more than that. And he is a baker extraordinaire. Welcome to Food Talk, both of you.
Thank you.
We were talking before we just went live about how you guys met each other, and it seems to be a mystery. So how did you? And is it true? Do you know each other?
Yes, we definitely know each other. I have no idea how we met.
No,
I just think it's a small town, and that's how things work.
Yeah,
I've known you for years.
That's
and
true.
I have no idea how I met you.
No, it's true. And you're one of those guys that I consider a friend, that I have an instant rapport with, and we actually don't know each other that well.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sucky.
Yeah.
Which is not a swear word. It's just too bad.
Yes, it's
We don't swear on the show. There's no swearing on the show.
I was informed of that as soon as I sat down.
We would like to swear. It's just not good. It's not professional. Although in most professional kitchens, swearing is a language. It's like a Spanish, English swearing. So how many people do you know that have been to all 7 continents? Because you have been to all 7 continents, which is unbelievable. At the young age of, you're like, what, 19 now? So,
I'm sorry. Or 35.
Or 35. Okay, but seriously, you've been to all 7.
I have, yes.
And when you had the gig on the cruise ship.
Correct.
Tell us
yes.
about that.
I worked for a small company. They were international.
The Royal Caribbean, or
It is a company called Clipper Cruise Lines. They're no longer in operation, but they're similar to the National Geographic Cruise Line. So it was 111 to 120 passengers, and we did expedition cruising. So it wasn't like casinos and midnight buffets. It was we did a lot of focus on local foods and bringing in the local cultures of the areas we were in.
So when you're in Antarctica, is it different types of ices that you're using?
Exactly.
Different types of snows? I mean, like what?
I mean, we did bring
Tree
pieces
branches?
of icebergs in for drinks. That was probably the closest to local food we would get in Antarctica, but...
Yeah, what did you really have any local food in Antarctica?
No, I mean, there's only like research vessels, pretty much.
Dead whales?
Yeah, it wasn't really anything.
Whale soup, whale omelets, whale toast. Right?
Exactly, whale covered in chocolate, peanut butter. You're good.
Right.
No, actually, Antarctica was always the biggest challenge as in the galley there because you had to get your provisions for 21 days. So we learned how to make romaine lettuce last in the refrigerator for 21 days.
How do you do that?
We had a very consistent temperature in the refrigerator, just above freezing, and we had one person whose only job was to remove anything that was starting to rot or go bad, because if you have one item that's in a refrigerator rotting, everything else speeds up.
Oh, interesting.
So we would have fresh lettuce for 21
where would you provision up? What would be your last stop in Antarctica to provision up? I need to know this.
most cruises we'd be in Ushuaia, which is called the end of the world. All the way
Argentina?
all the way at the bottom of Argentina. Yeah. And then once in a while, some of the cruises would hit the Falkland Islands. Oh. And Port Stanley was, they had actually built a greenhouse just for the reason of having all the cruise ships stop there. So they would be growing greens and basic necessities.
I was always under the impression that you were on a cruise ship with thousands of people,
and
you were doing like butter sculptures. That's what I always thought. I had no idea you were doing these small, like intimate, I guess, kind of cooking for only 120
Yeah, only
people.
120. It's like nothing compared to like...
I had no idea. I thought you were thousands of people and just turning it over constantly.
I can honestly say I've never sculpted butter.
Really? Oh. And so how'd you end up in the East End of Long Island?
My college roommate, who was actually the assistant general manager of the Millhouse Inn, and then her husband, who's general manager of the Millhouse Inn, brought me out. So.
And how long have you been at the Millhouse Inn?
3.5 years.
Great. And I always wanted to ask this. So what's your favorite dish, or what's the most popular dish at the Millhouse Inn? Because we can't go there, so which we really want to, but
The most talked about dish is probably our lobster frittata, because a lot of people are like, you can have lobster for breakfast?
Sure.
And so people come out and they always want seafood when they come down to the East End.
What's your favorite thing to make?
I would say our French toast. We get our brioche from Carissa, from Carissa's Breads. And
we had her on the show, boy. That was awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
We use her brioche and we soak it in an eggnog mixture that we make. So people are always like, oh my God, it's like eating cake for breakfast. It's very low calorie.
I'm a big fan of eggnog. I like eggnog. Paul.
Yes.
So your trivia is so popular that I heard, or I saw this on Bookface, that you were asked to bring your trivia dog and pony show to was it a christening or
no, it was a baby shower.
A baby shower.
Yes.
And how many people were at the baby shower? And did they pay attention? Did the babies pay attention? I mean, what
about 30. And it was nice. There was actually a little trophy with a baby on top of it. And it was wonderful. I always had a weird thing where people just associated me with trivia. And it took a really long time for me to be okay with that for some reason. Because, you're being associated with something insignificant. And now I've kind of accepted it because I could be known for a lot worse things than hosting trivia.
And was it your idea? How did it happen?
No, it was actually Liza Tremblay from
Joe and Liza's?
Joe and Liza's Bay
We're going to have them on the show, by the way.
They are fantastic. And it was Catherine Tremblay is expecting, I think, in maybe 2 or 3 months, and she had come to trivia before at Town Line. And just Liza thought I would enjoy it if I just kind of showed up and asked a few trivia questions.
But I should have rephrased this. How did trivia start at Town Line Barbecue?
It actually started before I got there. The woman who does the catering, her name is Sigrid Benedetti. She does all the catering for the Nick and Tony's Honest Man Company. She had hosted it for a year or two before I took over. I was actually a player.
Right.
And I think it's a lot of work, and she has responsibilities other than, asking trivia questions. So she asked me if I wanted to take it over, and I said yeah. And I am actually, I just started my 6th year doing it, making it the longest job I have ever had.
Now, you have had many lives, actually.
Yes.
So you've lived in L.A. You were a writer for U.S. News World Report.
I was a web producer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And just tell us a little bit else about your background before you ended up on the East End, and how did you end up on the East End?
I grew up the island, as the local community says, and went to school in D.C. and studied visual media theater communications, so that means I smoked a lot of pot and watched a lot of movies in college. And then right after college, I started working at U.S. News and World Report. I was there for about 3 or 4 years, took a little break to come out here. Then I moved to L.A., had some friends moving there, hitched my cart to their wagon, and just kind of went there for 5, 6 years, did a bunch of media stuff. That was disastrous. So I tucked my tail between my legs and said, Mom, I need to come figure out my life. And so I moved back here. And I have been figuring out my life ever since.
Well, we're glad that you're out here, because you need to stay here. I also have an issue on the show. The first cup of espresso that I pour always leaks, I always overpour it. There's always a spill. So we're going to work on that, but because I'm a food service professional. So
try that on a moving ship.
Yeah, well, I would
You'll
imagine.
spill on all of them, probably.
So there's a little bit better for you, because we can't have that.
That was easy.
Okay. So Paul, the other thing that
Yes.
I came to know about you in my very productive time on Facebook.
Yes.
You're a baker.
Yes.
And you're a baker extraordinaire.
Apparently.
And so what I would see, like, oh, cool, Paul, cooks some muffins. Oh, interesting, Paul made some cookies. And it kept going. Oh, yeah. Paul made a cake. And I go, who's eating all this? And how does this guy stay so svelte? And what's up with this, dare I call it, an obsession? And you even have a website called Stick It in Your Mouth,
Yes.
which doesn't necessarily suggest baking.
No, it doesn't.
But then with baked goods that are so good, you would stick them in your mouth. So,
Yeah.
so how did that happen?
I have no idea, honestly. I started baking in college, and then I just realized I could follow directions really well. I can't cook worth a damn. I can burn meat if you'd like me to, but I just haven't been able to do it. But with baking, it's follow these simple steps and end up with cookies. And then I mentioned before I was trying to figure out my life, so I moved out here, so I had a lot of free time. And eventually I would just fill it with baking. Me staying so svelte, I give it away. That's the only way I can. I give it away to church. I give it away to my coworkers. I give it away to just pretty much my neighbors. Just I can't have it in the house.
So right, tell me about that. So our theme today is our baked goods, and we have. So Paul, what's the name of these cookies?
That is a Dutch cocoa cookie.
Nice.
Remember back in the Archway used to make it?
Yes.
It was very, very popular, and I was a fat kid. Can we say that?
Yeah,
I was
I
a
think
big
that
old
sounds fair.
fatty when I was a young kid, and I would just get a box of Archway cookies and just eat them by myself.
Sure, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I think a few years ago I wanted to see if I could recreate them, and I did. Carolyn has accused me of buying these.
He brought us this beautifully packaged plate of the Archway
Where'd you
cocoa
get those
cookies.
cider
And I
up?
was like, really? Really? You just bought the box and put them in your own? Because these are way too
I've
good.
heard that from several
They
people.
really do look.
Yeah.
And they're perfect. I mean, they're...
Because that's when you know things aren't made perfectly, rather aren't natural when they're made so perfectly. These are actually made perfectly.
Yeah.
Carolyn, you have brought us apple fritters and a Long Island cheese pumpkin donut.
Yes.
So why would you mix cheese and pumpkin, and what makes it Long Island? But it's obviously really good too, right?
It's actually, there's not actually cheese in it. It's the Long Island cheese pumpkin, which is native.
That's right.
They've got the...
I'm dumb.
No, it's funny 'cause-
I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, because this was actually mentioned last show, I believe.
Yeah, they have the new Long Island cheese pumpkin project where they're trying to bring back.
I have failed my public.
They're trying to bring back the cheese pumpkin to Long Island, and Balsam Farms has had it for the last few years. They brought the seeds and they've been growing it, and it's a great cooking pumpkin, and it's a lot more of a subtle flavor. So, I mean, I know pumpkin spice is like the rage during the fall, but it doesn't have that fake pumpkin flavor of, like, say, a Starbucks latte. It's got more of a true pumpkin rather than the commercial flavoring.
Well, we don't mention products necessarily, but this Cafe Bustelo is really working for me today. This is the official coffee of foodTALK.
It's delicious.
So one of the things, actually, let's do this. Let's play Food Lover's Companion Roulette. So this is my favorite book. We use it in our office all the time, so we spell things properly when we're putting press releases together. But the word of the day, I want to see if any of you guys could have cheated. No, okay. Not that you're cheaters. So you both may get this. The word of the day is rusk, R-U-S-K. What is rusk?
I have no idea.
I have no idea either.
Okay.
What does it have to do with? Give us a.
Give us a
Yeah,
background?
it has to do with baking,
Okay.
and it is a baked good. You might know it otherwise as a Zwieback. You see
the blank faces on both of us right now?
or a biscotte.
Oh, okay.
So known in France as biscotte, and in Germany as Zwieback or Zwieback. A rusk is a slice of yeast bread, thick or thin, that is baked until dry, crisp, and golden brown, Rusks, plain, sweetened, or flavored, are available in most supermarkets, you guys. I just think I've never heard of
I
rusk.
hate biscotti, too.
Yeah, well,
it's just,
I like biscotti, and the Zwieback isn't terribly tasteless. Anyway.
that is an unappealing rusk.
again.
Yeah.
Definitely not an attractive name.
Here's
So
another.
we lost the $1 million?
Pretty much. Here's another question we just like to ask because this tells a lot, but your answers are your answers. There's no pressure, Carolyn. You've been to 7 continents. You've literally been around the world, which is so cool. How many countries have you been to?
76.
Wow.
You know she's a traveler.
That's
Rattles off that number.
Yeah.
I'm
That is-
close to 40, which is not bad, but I think I'm more like 38. I keep counting, because can you count Saint? You have to count Saint. If you've been to one of the Caribbean islands, the Virgin Islands, and that's like the Virgin Islands. You can't say you've been to St. Thomas, St. John, St. Croix, and count them as 3. I guess you could, but anyway, I digress.
I think it's like called the Centennial Club or something like that. They actually have a list of what areas are considered different countries, even though they're not actually. But I've been to actual 76 countries, not according to their map.
So just before we get to this, because I'm fascinated by this, give me an example of because we can be 76 countries. 5 unusual countries that you've been to.
Albania was definitely interesting.
Albania, yeah.
Totally different culture, different everything. I mean, it's just.
From its neighboring Greece,
Yeah, it's a totally different lifestyle. It's really cool, like the markets and everything else.
a lot of Albanians in the East End. There's enough of them, you realize.
It's beautiful, and they're people are very nice there. I mean, I didn't really go anywhere where people weren't amazing and welcoming. And
Okay, so Albania.
Indonesia was very interesting. Actually, I had to go get local goods at the market, and the purser who's in charge of the money, he's like the banker of the ship, hands me a bunch of local currency. I have no idea the exchange rate, anything else. And I go, and a gentleman let me hire him and his donkey in the cart to gather all of my groceries. I get all of the groceries, and I come back to the ship, and I've spent a lot of money. And I'm thinking it's a lot of money. It's like this full cart. It's enough for dinner for like 3 days for 150 people. And I come back, and I'm like, I think I spent more money than I was supposed to. He's like, what did you have? And I gave him back the change. He goes, you spent $47.
Oh my God.
Okay.
What 3 other countries that off the beaten trail, or just that surprised you?
The Philippines was amazing.
Oh, cool.
And it was really cool because my staff was mostly Filipino. And so therefore, I kind of got the insider track because you had all these people that are from there. So you got to see the locals' view. Argentina.
I love Argentina. I've been there. Yeah.
And it's funny because like Buenos Aires and then Ushuaia are 2 totally different. And we actually ended up being docked in Ushuaia for 2 weeks. And it's a very small, it's similar to like Montauk. Like it's very small port, and they have nothing going on in the winter. It's all based on tourism.
Indonesia, Philippines, Albania, Argentina, and your last recommendation, your last favorite one?
Would be Antarctica. I mean, it's totally. I mean, it's one of those places that most people don't make it to, and it's untouched, and it's just beautiful. I mean, penguins pretty much run the wildlife and everything else. Like there's research centers, but there's no houses, there's no factories, nothing.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
All right, Paul.
Yes.
5 people in the whole world, history of the world, that you would invite to dinner.
Is Paul cooking?
Yeah, well,
I'm supplying baked goods.
Right.
I can cook. David Foster Wallace. He is an author, or was an author, I should say, rather, who has just written some of my favorite work ever. He actually committed suicide about 15 years ago.
gotta love those guys.
Right, but just a brilliant writer. He's the type of guy I would read his stuff, and any inkling I had, if I wanted to be a writer, he would just kill it.
Fiction or nonfiction?
A little bit of both. And I like his nonfiction more, actually. He wrote...
What's his name?
David Foster Wallace.
Okay.
He wrote
David Foster Wallace, folks.
He wrote a book about a cruise ship called A Supposedly Fun Thing I'll Never Do Again, and it's about just a really nerdy, awkward, smart guy taking a cruise.
Awesome.
Yeah, really, really cool stuff. And then he wrote another book called Infinite Jest, all about addiction at the turn of the millennium.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really, really cool
All
stuff.
right. So we got a ringer right there.
Yeah.
So who else you got?
Aaron Sorkin, I think. Just been a big fan of his writing since The West Wing. And I just think he would be fun to sit and listen to talk, or listen to him talk.
You could be setting a precedent. Next.
That's an excellent question. Who else? Who else? I was trying to think about this, and it's really, really difficult. I'm gonna have to say Barack Obama, just because I think it would be interesting to just sit and listen to him talk.
You can talk hoops with this guy.
I couldn't talk hoops with him.
Okay, so we have a president, a writer. Well, we have a TV writer, a movie writer. We have a suicidal author.
Yeah.
Who else we got?
I want to say Maya Angelou. The more I read of her, there are a lot of authors on this. The more I read of her, the more I just love listening to her. She just has a voice that I really, really admire and appreciate. And who was the other one? I think it was Julia Child, because she's funny.
She's on my list.
Yeah,
Wow.
she's just funny.
She's an amazing,
I could listen to her.
Person.
Coffee is from
exactly.
That was very, very good. Those are really good ones.
Right.
Can you top that? Do you have any suicidal cooks? What do you got? What do you got for us, Carol? Boy, the pressure.
Well, I had Julia Childs on my list as well. I actually had the opportunity of working with her on an event before she passed away when I was in college. We did the International Association of Culinary Professionals dinner, and she was there. I also had Charlie Trotter.
Oh, wow.
On there.
Going foodie all the way. So
Yeah, pretty much.
all right.
My list was pretty much all foodie. And David Chan, who is Mamafuko and Mamafuko Milk Bar, which his baking book is amazing. But it's so kind of stressful to even try to follow those recipes. His pastry chef must be
Those recipes are nuts.
I know, it's 7 pages for a cake. You're like,
really?
Yes. And they come out amazing.
And it's all so good, but I've never had such involved recipe. These cookies have, I think, 8 ingredients.
Right.
There are some cookies that have 20 in the Momofuku.
And that's just the cookies.
Yeah, and that's just the
And
cookies.
then some of the pies and stuff, it's you have to make these 3 cookies to make the crust for this pie.
Yeah.
But all the stuff ends up being amazing.
Your last two?
I had, crap, now I can't remember who else was on my list. I had my grandparents on there as a collective unit.
Okay.
Especially
we'll give you that.
My grandmothers both were super influential in my basic knowledge of culinary and working in a kitchen.
I need some clarification.
Yes.
Are we going with 2 grandmothers?
Yes.
Okay.
2 grandmothers. Because my 2 grandfathers weren't really too big on food. We never had turkey on Thanksgiving for years, and I couldn't figure out why. And it comes down to my grandfather hated turkey, so we never had turkey.
That's not right.
And I was always like, well, why didn't we always had Polish sausage, and we had ham. And I was always like, why do we have ham for Thanksgiving?
I'd be fine with that.
I'm not a huge turkey fan. I like all the sides.
I'm a ham salad man. You guys ever make ham salad?
Oh.
I have made ham salad.
I might bring my ham. You're shaking your head. Dude, you gotta try it. I have converted vegetarians to eat the ham salad, and there's actually somebody in this building who is basically a vegetarian, but will eat my ham salad.
Really?
Isn't that right, Miss Watson? She's laughing right now. So,
we're gonna have to do a show on ham salad now.
so I'm gonna grant you an exception. So you get grandmother squared,
Right.
and your final, or was that it?
That's fine. That's
Okay.
fine.
So all right. So two grandmothers.
Correct.
Chang, Trotter, and Julia Child. Very interesting.
They might have to help cook this meal though.
So we got a few minutes left, and we need to talk and taste what you guys have brought. So let me clear the deck. You ever notice how when waiter come up to your table, sometimes they just go, just like move stuff around like that. I've always been intrigued by that. Anyway, because they don't really do
The funny
anything.
part is when everybody moves it back, and then you have no space to put it down.
Right? Look at this. We're all set here. I'm going to use my fingers. This is the apple fritter.
Correct.
So let's do this. Let's fritter it up, and we're going to cut this into just a taste, right? Because we're not going to eat per se, but we're going to taste.
Yeah, the sugar high if we eat all this.
Oh, that's true. No,
What goes into making this? And are these local apples?
They're from the milk pail.
Good.
Come on, you know that.
I know.
You guys were colluding before the show, I think, quite frankly.
Thank you.
It's actually, it's semi-time consuming because it is a yeast dough, so you have to wait for it to rise.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of cool. Instead of water to get the yeast to bloom, you use apple cider. So you get extra flavor of that apple and the cinnamon and all the spices.
So did you prepare this yesterday as opposed to me who woke up early? And
Yes, I did. Because it has to rise for an hour and a half.
This is pretty exceptional.
And did you even use local flour?
In this one, no. The Long Island cheese pumpkin is made with Amber Waves wheat.
Speaking
Ridiculous.
By the way, there seems to be an incredible competition, a violent, mean-spirited competition between Amber Waves and Balsam Farms.
The hats?
With the hats.
Yeah.
Jason Weiner was like, he sleeps in the Amber Waves hat. Everybody else is just like, Balsam Farms. Meanwhile, they're all friends. They're great.
I love the Balsam Farms people, but they lost that contest. The Amber Waves thing, it's like the hipster cachet.
Well,
I have both, and depending on where I'm at, is what flips out.
I would wear the Amber,
I do.
the Amber Waves hat does not fit me very well, so I've got a problem.
I got you.
Let me try this. That's exceptional.
And I actually just started making them with the Amber Waves flour, and they add a little crunch that I thought was kind of like,
fantastic.
it made a really good texture for.
Well,
That's so good.
we spent so much time talking, and not enough time eating. So, Paul, tell me about these cookies.
These cookies are super easy. It's just, is it 6 ingredients? 6 ingredients. Throw them all together in my little KitchenAid. Chill the dough.
Best toy ever.
And then, yeah, it really is the best toy ever. And then I roll them out. And I'm really particular about sizing, so that's why they all look so uniform.
Well, they're beautiful.
Baking brings order to the universe, so this is one of the...
Speaking of order, it's the end of our show. I want to say to our viewers, cógelo suave pero cógelo. Take it easy, but take it. And thanks for joining me on Food Talk.
Thank you for having us.
Wow.
Thank you, Steve.
What a great show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went a little bit.